Two brothers, one big mouth. Big Mouth Willie Bass Podcast. I'm Ryan Willis.
I'm Matt Willis. That's damn straight.
How's everyone doing out there? Hope you're doing well. Man, it's kind of a miracle that we're recording this week, Matt, because we couldn't record yesterday. And then today, well, wasn't sure if we were going to record because I'm working the graveyard shift in a couple hours.
Yeah, lots going on.
Got my coffee right here to kind of help me through. My third ever graveyard shift, I'll tell you. It's fun stuff. So hopefully that shows how dedicated I am, Matt, to our show, because I only have a couple hours to spare before work, and I'm still recording.
Oh, we're all very dedicated. I mean, there's been nights where I didn't go to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning because of this podcast, so, you know.
So there you go. Oh, we're all very appreciative of you, Brian. And I was going to be like, oh, thank you, bro.
No compliments today.
All right. Well, in that case, you do the show by yourself. Bye-bye.
No, we're all in this together.
Right. As I mentioned last week, folks, please follow us on our new Instagram account, our Instagram page, whatever you call it, at Big Mouth Willie Bass. That's at Big Mouth Willie Bass. And as always, if you're on Twitter, at Big Mouth Willie. Matt, we actually got a follower on Twitter last week. First one probably since the summer. So we're heading in the right direction there.
Yeah, it wasn't me too. So thank you to that person.
Well, you don't have social media. Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. You don't have any of it.
I'm on the tube. That's why.
Oh, that's true. I guess YouTube kind of counts, doesn't it? So yes, please follow us on social media. I plan to do a social media giveaway sooner than later, maybe even next week. But speaking of giving away, Matt, we were trying to give away a $25 Amazon gift card last week. We said if you correctly predict the final score of the Super Bowl, you would win a gift card. Well, nobody got the right score prediction because the game was a complete dud. It was not what we expected. I don't think anybody expected what happened on Sunday. So because of that, I want to make things easier, meaning we will for sure give away a gift card this week, an Amazon gift card, $25 worth. How or what do you have to do? Well, you got to stay tuned. I'll get into it. But the theme of this week's episode is top 5 movies. Matt and I will be doing our top 5 movie list of all time, minus sports movies and animated. So yeah, we had to kind of narrow it down a little bit, but it still made it very, very difficult because there's a million movies out there. So anyway, our giveaway is going to be around that. So make sure you stick around for the top 5 movie list, and we'll explain how you could possibly win a gift card. But first, Matt, we got to do it. I'm not really looking forward to it because, again, it was an awful game, a complete letdown. But let's go ahead and dive into Super Bowl 55 and what happened on Sunday.
We have to talk about this.
I really don't want to, but this will probably be the last time we talk football for at least a month or two, or maybe even longer. So might as well get it out of the system now.
It felt like I was attending a funeral when I was watching that game.
Well, hey, we were both right. We both picked the Bucs to win, so there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I did pick the Bucs to score 31 points too. I mean, so yeah.
Oh. I was close. I said they would score 27 points, but I also said the Chiefs would score 23, and boy, was I off on that one. But I did say out of us three that it would be a low-scoring game, or at least a lower-scoring game than most people predicted. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Oh, yeah. Good point. So what do you want to talk about first, Ryan, about this massacre that happened this past Sunday?
Well, the Bucs won 31-9. That was the final score. Honestly, Matt, the two stats that stood out to me, first off, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs quarterback, was pressured 29 times on Sunday, which was the most in Super Bowl history. There's been 55 Super Bowls. That is the most out of all of them. And then the other staggering stat, just mind-blowing, Patrick Mahomes scrambled for a total of 497 yards, trying to escape the Tampa Bay Bucs pass rush. He was literally just running around about 5 football fields worth trying to get away from that pass rush of Tampa Bay. Just an insane statistic. So that's really what stood out to me. I mean, the Bucs defense was incredible. And I know I mentioned it. We talked about it last week, Matt. The Chiefs offensive line was a huge concern for me going into this game. They were missing 2 starters, including their left tackle, Eric Fisher. I knew that was going to be something to keep an eye on and possibly a concern or a problem, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I mean, my goodness. I mean, Mike Remmers, who started at left tackle, is a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time. So I didn't think they were going to be in that bad a shape. But boy, I mean, every time Mahomes dropped back to pass the ball, he couldn't even breathe. I mean, it was just immediate. They were right in his face, guys on both sides of him, just collapsing in the pocket. It was just incredible to watch that. So to me, look, Brady ended up winning the MVP, which is what, his 5th, I believe, of his career, 5th Super Bowl MVP, which is a joke. Brady had a decent game. He threw for 201 yards. He had 3 TDs, no picks, which is probably the #1 stat for him. But the Tampa Bay front 7, really, you could have given it to the entire defense. But the front 7, Matt, they were the true MVPs of this game.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about Mahomes running around for his life, you hear that cliche around football all the time, like I just said, like the quarterback's running for his life, but that's literally what was happening. Like he was running, just to like not get killed out there. And I mean, I felt bad for Mahomes, honestly, because like, I really did think that, he did all he could. And I mean, he couldn't do anything, with the time that he was given. And Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, they may have put up a decent stat line, but even they had a couple of drops themselves, and other playmakers on that offense did not step up, like Sammy Watkins or Micah Hardman. Because really, Tampa Bay, all they did was bring a 4-man rush, and they just dropped everyone back into coverage. And those 4 people up front, Shaq Barrett, the Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, who has the club after blowing his hand up with fireworks. But all 3 of them in particular, man, I mean, they were just they were a wrecking crew. And I do agree with you about the Super Bowl MVP as well. But I feel like they gave it to Brady just because, he is the reason why they made it this far. Of course, that's nothing relevant to the game itself, but that's probably what they're thinking about there. Of course, he is the quarterback and all, but yeah, it was a massacre, and I was really disappointed. It was just very anticlimactic. I was thinking that it was going to be coming down to the wire, and geez, anything but, right?
Oh, a huge letdown, Matt. I mean, I really thought this was going to be one of the greatest Super Bowls we've seen in like the last 10 to 20 years. I mean, the matchup was what we wanted. This is what we wanted all along, was Bucs Chiefs. We were super stoked about this matchup. We all thought it was going to be kind of a back and forth contest. I know I said that I didn't think they were going to score a ton of points, but I thought the Chiefs were going to score more than 9 points. Let me just put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, Mahomes, he couldn't do anything. I mean, anybody that was taking shots at Mahomes, and I saw quite a few on Twitter on Sunday, I mean, get out of here with that. What was the guy supposed to do? He literally had no time to do anything. Just the fact that he was able to get off some of those throws, man. We were texting about it the night of. I mean, he was just making insane.
Yeah.
Like, just
his body was on the ground.
Right. That 4th down play where his body was like literally maybe a foot off the ground. He was falling and he just kind of sidearmed it right before it hit the ground. Somehow got enough in the air there to give his teammates a chance at it anyway. And the play before that was the one where he spun around a couple of times at like a 360. Didn't even see where he was throwing. He just kind of lofted it down the field. And his guy almost came down with it in the back corner of the end zone. Only his guy even had a chance, a minuscule chance of pulling that in. So, look, if anything, he proved just how crazy talented he is. And if he would have had even just a couple more seconds to throw the ball, especially on some of those plays where they were close, like Tyreek Hill, he had an opportunity to score a touchdown. What was it, in the first quarter or second quarter? I know.
Yeah, he did hit off his helmet, right?
Right off his face
Yeah.
mask in the end zone. If he catches that, who knows? Maybe it's a different game. It gives the guys some confidence. I don't know, but it was a train wreck. It was a massacre. I'm not trying to take anything from Brady. Brady's the greatest of all time. I hate to admit it, but he is. He also is the luckiest son of a gun of all time, like I will repeatedly say. But I just didn't agree with giving him the MVP. I thought Gronk deserved the MVP more than Brady. Gronk had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards receiving. Every time he went down the middle of the field, Matt, there was nobody within 10 yards of him. The Chiefs just completely ignored Gronk the entire game, made him look like the Gronk of New England. I don't understand it. You have Travis Kelce on your team. You practice against him all year. He's the best tight end in football, and you let an old man Gronk with his millions of injuries just carve you down the middle of the field like a Thanksgiving turkey. Ugh.
Bionic arm Gronkowski.
Yeah. And then they got the running game going too. Fournette and Jones had a good game. Fournette looked great. Yeah. Fournette looked like freaking he was back at LSU playing college football again.
Yeah. I was going to bring up 2 points real quick. First off, with the Buccaneers, I thought it was pretty crazy since not too many people are talking about it, but remember that numbskull Antonio Brown? Well, he scored a touchdown this game. So, talking about coming full circle, I mean, I thought this guy may have, ended up dead in the street a year ago, and he ended up scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, yeah, what do you think about that? But and the other thing I was going to mention the other thing I was going to mention as well is what you were talking about earlier, but I don't understand why so many people are hating on Kansas City. Look, I understand the Chiefs, they played by far the worst game that Mahomes has played in his career. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. But I would say that the past 3 years, Kansas City has been the best team in football. I mean, they went to the AFC title game in 2018. They won the Super Bowl last year. You know, they were due for a bad game at some point, and it just so happened to be against Brady and the Bucs. So, I mean, I don't get why people are hating on Mahomes so much, but I still think that people should respect Kansas City still because they're going to be back again next year. They're going to be a contender. So I'm just giving the Kansas City at least a little bit of props for just having a damn good football team for the first time in many years, you know. So good for them. But obviously, the night and the season belongs to the Tampa Bay Brady's, you know, who so many people slept on, but not me, apparently.
Yeah, you rode them the entire playoffs, Matt. You picked them every single week.
Yeah, I somehow got that right, but, you know,
I'll take my Tom Brady magic carpet ride.
Hey, I'll take my victories when I can get them, so, you know.
Yeah, all in all, like I said, just very frustrating to see the game kind of go the way it did. I really thought we were going to be in for a great game, and it was anything but. So it was frustrating. So congrats to the Bucs, champs. Matt, I don't know if they're going away. I mean, Brady's coming back next year, obviously. I don't know if they have any guys, any stars on the team that are possibly going to become a free agent coming up here in the offseason, but I feel like most of their core guys are coming back. So I would not be surprised at all if we see the Bucs back in the Super Bowl next year. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think this team's going anywhere. And as far as the Chiefs go, I agree they should be fine, but it is tough to bounce back from a Super Bowl loss, Matt, especially when you've gone to 2 straight Super Bowls. Not many teams go to 3 straight, let's be honest. So I'm not really sure what to expect from the Chiefs next year. I was also very disappointed in Andy Reid. I mean, we were talking him up last week and praising him, which he deserves, but, you know, we call him a wizard in a fat man's body. But he made just no adjustments in this game, man. I mean, I really expected them to come out in the second half and start scoring or just do something different, and they really didn't. They just kept doing the same stuff, almost doing 7-step drop backs, and it just was not working.
Yeah.
And the one
they never did run the ball.
Yeah, the one thing that was working was the running game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was averaging like 6 or 7 yards a carry, I think. But I think he only carried it 9 times. You know, what's the best thing you can do for a porous offensive line is you run. But they didn't do that. But by the time they could have started doing that, it was too late because the game was out of reach. So anyway, it was just a overall, a very disappointing night. And then, of course, Andy Reid's son, Britt, was involved in a car accident. What was it, the day before the Super Bowl? So
it wasn't his fault, right?
I have no idea. All I know is that there was a young girl that was involved in the crash. I think a 5-year-old. I'm not sure what the update is on that. Obviously, best wishes to her and the family there. Hopefully, everything's going to be all right. But I feel like that may have even came into play a little bit as well. I mean, that could have been a distraction of some kind. I know it's the linebackers coach. It's not the head coach or the OC or the DC, but still, that is the coach's son, and it's the coach on that team. So that probably was kind of a bad omen right there, to be honest with you. But anyway, unless you got anything else to say about that game, I am done talking NFL for a while.
Yeah, honestly, there is literally nothing else to say. It's just the Buccaneers, they came, they dominated, and that's it.
Come on, man. I'm waiting for you to say it. You called them what last week? The Tampa Bay
Buccaneers, baby.
Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
All righty. So let's go ahead and turn the page and get into what we really wanted to talk about this week. Top 5 movies of all time, excluding animation and sports movies, because we feel like we probably have enough sports movies to fill up our top 5 to begin with. So we'll probably do that in a future episode, Matt. But top 5 movies of all time. And we want to hear yours. This is how you may possibly win a $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is drop a comment below on YouTube, your top 5 movie list, and we will randomly select one person to win that gift card. What do you think?
Somebody will win this week, to clarify.
Correct. Somebody is guaranteed to win, unless nobody comments. So technically you're wrong. If nobody comments, then nobody will win the gift card. Well, technically, we'll be the winners because we won't have to spend any money.
Yeah, there you go. But you also got to be subscribed, too. You have to be subscribed to our channel. Don't forget that.
Yes, you have to be subscribed to our channel. And by the way, thank you for all those that have subscribed. We've gained quite a few subs in the last couple of weeks, Matt. So appreciate that, folks. Also like, and again, comment, especially this week, because you may actually win.
Yeah. And there's, without a doubt, I mean, we might be stirring the pot with this one because, there's a lot of movie fanatics out there. So we might, piss some people off with our list.
This was a really hard one, man. I know we've done top 5 cartoons and top 5 video games, and those were all very difficult in their own right. But this one I think was even more difficult and the crazy thing is I don't think either one of us, Matt, are like movie fanatics.
No,
we have not really seen that many movies when you really think about it. I feel like compared to like a normal person anyway.
Yeah.
But even still, this was almost impossible for me because I just started thinking about movie after movie. And that's part of the reason why I got rid of the sports and the animated movies, because it's like I got to narrow it down somehow, but it still didn't really help me any because I had about 40 honorable mentions that I could have probably easily put in my top 5. So really, I just depended on the day that I was putting this together, because ask me again next week and my top 5 could definitely change.
Yeah, same here. This was definitely a very difficult list. Just part of the reason why it took so long for us to start recording tonight's show, because I was like trying to think about my list. But yeah, hopefully you guys will like the movies that we chose. And maybe if you haven't seen one of these movies, you can go watch it on your spare time.
Yeah. And also, I'm looking forward to reading everyone else's top 5, because I'm sure there's going to be quite a few movies that are mentioned that I have not seen, and I will look forward to watching them eventually.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, we're not huge movie guys. We never have been. We've never been ones to go to the movie theater every weekend. Obviously, you can't go to the movies now, thanks COVID, but even before, pre-COVID, Matt and I never really went to the movie theaters. Very rare occasions, essentially. So I feel like our lists are probably going to be kind of similar, Matt, because we have seen the same movies and we like a lot of the same stuff, genres and whatnot. But compared to other people's lists, I think ours will definitely be different.
I'm just hoping that we don't have any more than like 2 on the same list. I don't want it to be like the same top 5 or something.
I feel like at least 2 of our top 5 is going to be the same. At least 2 movies.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. So you want to get us started?
Let's dive right into it. You want me to go first or you?
I'll let you go ahead first. I'm curious to see what your number 5 is.
All right, number 5 for me, The Fugitive with Harrison Ford.
Ah, okay. Okay.
One I almost forgot about when I was putting this list together yesterday. I literally did not even have it in my honorable mentions. And then all of a sudden, I just randomly, I can't remember. I think I was doing some research, just kind of looking around to make sure I wasn't forgetting like an obvious one. And Harrison Ford's name popped up. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's the first movie I think of when I think of Harrison Ford? It's The Fugitive. Now, obviously, a lot of people know him better probably for Indiana Jones, Star Wars. He's been in a million movies. But for me, my favorite movie of his is The Fugitive. Matt, that's a movie that you, me, our brother Clay, even our own father would literally watch every single time we saw that it was on TV. And it was one of the very few movies that our dad actually enjoyed watching with us because it seemed like most of the other movies we all liked, our dad wanted nothing to do with it or he would go to bed. So I think that's another reason why this movie means a lot to me because our own dad actually would sit there and watch it with us, which was a rarity.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually forgot about that movie myself. I forgot in my honorable mentions, but yeah, that's a hell of a movie, and that's definitely one of my favorite Harrison Ford movies. It also has Tommy Lee Jones in it as well for all you movie people. But
yeah, Tommy Lee was hysterical in that movie. Played a great role as the detective, or what was his title?
He was a United States Marshal.
Marshal, that's right. And of course, that movie is what prompted them to do the spin-off. What was it called? U.S. Marshals or whatever. A couple of years later, that movie was terrible, a total flop. Did not have Harrison Ford in it. That was probably why. But yeah, Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. I mean, that was a great duo right there. Terrific writing, great action. They had the freaking train scene in the beginning of that movie where they actually had a real train, derail and go off the tracks with Harrison Ford running with his shackles on. I mean, probably illegal to do something like that now, but my God, Fisher. No special effects. That was all real.
Yeah, that's the thing. They didn't really use like any like CGI in that movie. It was just pure acting.
Yeah. Great movie. Okay, what's your number 5?
My number 5, and then I'm pretty certain it's probably going to be on your list as well. But here it is. It is Office Space.
Oh my gosh! You know what? I totally forgot.
Oh really?
Case in point, man. Like, there's just so many movies out there. It's hard to remember all of them.
Yeah. So Office Space is one of my favorite comedies of all time. It came out in 1999. It was directed by Mike Judge, who also created King of the Hill, who was on my top 5 cartoon list. So obviously I respect Mike Judge.
Yes, you do.
It stars Ron Livingston as Peter Gibbons, Gary Cole, and 90s kids' favorite woman, Jennifer Aniston. But yeah, it's just a great comedy, and it's also relatable to like folks like you and me and probably the viewer at home because it talks about work and how much it sucks. So
yeah. I remember when I first saw that movie, I believe I was in high school, Matt, so I didn't really quite get the comedy. I mean, I thought it was a hilarious movie. I've enjoyed it since day one, but it wasn't until I actually got out into the real world and started working that I could actually relate to it and be like, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly accurate. Because you're going to run into terrible bosses, more than one. Because remember, Peter had what, like 5 different bosses to report to.
Well, he had Bob and Bob.
Yeah, the 2 Bobs. You had Milton. Nobody told was let go, but he was still working and getting a paycheck, so they fixed the glitch.
Yeah.
Poor Milton.
But I had to put Office Space in there just because, for the reasons we mentioned, and also too, just like, I'm not saying the movie gets worse by any means, but the first hour in particular is just like pure comedy, just like one thing after another, where he's just like literally doing a Rafflecopter on the floor laughing, It's amazing.
It is. I cannot believe I forgot Office Space. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked, honestly. That's why,
I mean, it has been a while since I've watched it, man. It's been probably at least 4 or 5 years. They never showed on TV, it seems.
Well, it's definitely a rated R movie, so if you're a kid that's watching this, you probably shouldn't watch it.
Oh, don't worry, our video is not safe for kids anyway, so they can't watch it.
Yeah, I already tried to dropped an F-bomb already, so
Yeah, that's a classic. Man, I'm really disappointed in myself that I forgot that one. All right, number 4, Matt. This is the one that probably I could change out with Office Space if I really wanted to, but this one is very memorable for me because I quote it so damn much with my friends, as you can attest to, since you're always there whenever we do big hangouts.
I know where this is going.
Hello, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay, I was wrong. Did not see that coming.
Oh, okay. Wow, we're really keeping each other guessing here. Yes, Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, a movie that I quote all the time, still to this day. I've watched it a million times. My favorite Robin Williams movie by far. And it's also a very touching movie. It's not all about the comedy, Matt. It's actually a real life story that many kids can relate to. Fortunately, our parents never divorced, but there are a million kids out there that have parents that were divorced growing up. So I feel like that is a movie that really kind of tugs on your heartstrings. But obviously, the comedy in it is just amazing. That scene towards the end at Bridges, the restaurant, everything about that whole sequence makes me laugh every single time. It never gets old. Where Robin Williams is just drunk and then he forgets that he's dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire and he goes over and sits down with Mr. Lundy and he's just talking to him like, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Daniel, is that you? Like, just everything about that whole thing is just hilarious. So, yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire, number 4.
That's good because, again, I completely forgot about that movie as well. So that's hilarious that the first 2 movies I totally forgot about. But, yeah.
I forgot about Office Space.
Yeah, but Mrs. Doubtfire, yeah, it's definitely a classic. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't really like that movie because, obviously the idea of a man dressing as a woman can be controversial to say the least. But
oh, come on!
I mean, of course,
it's
it's 2020. It's 2021, of course, so we gotta respect people. But still, but yeah, the comedy of that movie for sure is hilarious, and Robin Williams is definitely a legend for that movie, and that's probably his best movie for sure, in my opinion, as well. So, yeah, that's a solid choice for you, number 4.
All right. What's yours?
My number 4 is Inception.
Ooh. You know what? I think I had this in my original top 5, like when I first was just like thinking of random movies just to throw in just as I was going along. I originally had that in my top 5.
Oh, well, I'm glad you pulled it out. No pun intended.
Yeah, I am too.
But yeah, Inception came out in 2010. It was directed by Christopher Nolan, probably my favorite director of all time. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Tom Hardy. So 3 very good actors there. But yeah, the plot of the story is very confusing, so I'm not going to try to explain too much of it.
Oh, yeah, don't try to do that. I'm still trying to figure it out. I feel like each time I watch it, I get it a little bit more. Like I understand it a little bit more, but I still feel like I'm not like 100% there yet. Maybe
but that's the beauty of it, though. There's so many layers to it. It's like every time you watch it, it's just like, oh yeah, I didn't notice that the last time I watched that. It's like that every time you see it. But yeah, basically, it's about like dreams and all that stuff, and they're trying to plant an idea into somebody else's head so Cobb, Leonardo DiCaprio can, be a free man and go back to the States. But yeah, that's kind of like the premise of the movie.
And see his kids.
Yeah, but
then at the end he decides to make that his reality, remember? Because he would always spin the top.
Yeah.
To kind of make sure it was real or whatever. So as he's spinning it, the kid or what's his name? The guy that played in the Batman movies, Alfred.
Tom Hardy?
No. At the end, the guy that played his dad, Leonardo DiCaprio's dad in the movie. You know who?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Thank you.
Yeah.
he comes in, or he tells the kids that the dad's there, and then he decides to look, and he actually sees their faces for the first time in the movie. And he just is like, you know what, forget the top. Like, I'm going to make this my reality, whether it is or not. My
Yeah.
kids are here,
Yeah.
my dad's here. Let's just roll with it. And then it just shows the top at the end. And then it cuts the black.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
Perfect
Oh
ending.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But no, it's just
I got my fingers.
oh yeah. But yeah, it's just it's a great movie. It's kind of a sci-fi movie, so if you're kind of into that, you know, you probably would like it. But yeah, you know, great movie all around, great plot, great effects. You know, there's a scene in the movie where like the ground like becomes like right above them, so it's just like a alternate like dimension, I guess. You know, just the effects of the movie are phenomenal. So you know, I had to put it on there because you know it's always one of those movies where it's just like if I see it on TV, it's just like stop what I'm doing. We gotta sit my ass down and watch this right now.
Well, it definitely takes your full concentration. Like, it's not one of those movies where you can just kind of, you know, be distracted or look at your phone every few minutes or get up and miss a few minutes. Like, you have to stay glued for the entire movie because otherwise you're going to get lost, especially obviously this is your first time watching it. Matt,
Yeah.
you failed to mention the soundtrack though. That soundtrack, the music, probably one of my favorites on it, honestly, in cinematic history. The music is just top notch.
That's good old Hans Zimmer.
Yep, Hans Zimmer, man. It seems like every movie I like, he's the one that was the composer for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So good choice, Matt. All right, number 3, planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh, really? That's a very
Do
that's
we have
a very
match?
good. That is my number 3 selection as well. Planes, trains.
There you go. Well, we might as well both talk about it then.
Yeah.
I honestly, I wasn't sure if you were going to put this in your top 5 or not, but
No, I did.
so Matt, as you know, I am the biggest John Candy fan you will find anywhere in this on this planet. So this is probably my favorite movie of his. It's really I almost put Uncle Buck instead because Uncle Buck's real close for me as far as favorite John Candy movie, but I had to go with Planes Trains because that's really the one that sticks out to me the most, and I probably have watched that movie the most as well. It's been one of my favorites for a long, long time, and of course Steve Martin's in it. Those two were fantastic together. I'm always heartbroken thinking about the fact that those two probably could have made more movies together if John wouldn't have passed away so tragically at a young age. But I mean, it doesn't really get much better as far as comedies go. I mean, that is to me the gold standard: planes, trains, and automobiles. Caddyshack's close. There's the vacation movies that we both love, but to me, it does not get any better as far as comedies go than planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna mention because in my personal opinion, I think the 1980s in particular was probably the best era ever for comedy movies. Yeah. So there's like such a handful. There's such a handful of movies from like Chevy Chase, John Candy, those two in particular. Like
Bill
they
Murray.
made so many great movies in that era, and Bill Murray as well. Yes, good call. But yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles definitely takes the cake for me. It's just a very beautiful movie. I don't know how else to put it. It's gorgeous, but
Del Griffin and Neil Page.
Yeah, well, it has like the perfect combination of it, like just being downright hilarious on one hand, but at the same time, it's not like over the top. It's realistic in a sense, and it just meshes so well together, and it just makes out a really great story at the end. Where like literally, like if I have it, usually like it comes on Thanksgiving because it's a Thanksgiving movie, of course, but usually I watch it Thanksgiving like a bunch of times, and you don't see it for a while, but every time it comes on around Thanksgiving, the first time I watch it again, I still to this day get teary-eyed because that's really how powerful it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Matt. It's very similar to Mrs. Doubtfire, where like, yeah, the comedy, is at the forefront, but there's a lot of real life to it. You know what I mean? Like it just is very relatable. John Candy's character, like I said, Del Griffin, doesn't have a home. He's homeless essentially. He just travels around as a shower curtain ring salesman. And he doesn't tell Neil Page, Steve Martin's character, this until the very end of the film. So you kind of understand him better, obviously, towards the end and why he acts the way he does. And of course, his wife had passed away. I believe it was like 7 years earlier or something like that. So yeah, it's very serious in a lot of ways, and it just plays along with the comedy just exceptionally well. So love that movie to death. We'll never get sick of it. Never will get tired of it. My favorite John Candy movie of all time.
Yeah,
And it's rated R only because of one scene. And I think everybody that has seen it knows what scene I'm talking about. The one where Steve Martin just goes off
on
the airport lady. Yeah. How long? It's like a 30-second long scene where he's just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why that film was rated R. Otherwise, it probably could have been PG-13.
I think it's like one of the few times in the movie they actually do curse too, but it's like 50 times in like 30 seconds. So that's basically it.
Yeah. And you know what's sad too, Matt, is recently I found out that there was so much more that they could have included with that movie. There's like literally hours and hours of footage that they didn't even include. And a lot of it actually would have kind of put things like pieces together that would have made more sense or explain why you saw certain scenes that didn't really add up or make much sense. So I really wish we could see the full version of it, but that's locked away somewhere in Hollywood, I imagine.
There was a little subplot where I'm sorry, I'm drawing blank because we're on camera. What's Steve Martin's wife's name in the movie?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Well, anyway, she thought that Dell, you know, who he was traveling with, she thought it was a woman, you know.
Right. So, she thought that he was cheating on her.
Yeah, but then like at the end, like when she realizes like, you know, he was telling the truth and it was Del Griffith, you know, it also kind of completed the story that much more because, you know.
That explains why she was so emotional at the end, why they, you know, embraced and everything, because she was like, oh, he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the whole thing about Del and Neil getting robbed at the motel was the pizza guy. Because Del had ordered pizza the night before, and I guess he gave him like a 25-cent tip or something like that. So the pizza guy is the guy that you see in that movie that unlocks their door and goes in and takes money out of their wallet. So that's, you know, another tidbit that I wish they would have included because it makes more sense. Like, why would some random person just go into a motel room, especially if he doesn't even know who's in there? But this guy did now because he delivered the pizza to them. So there's a lot of little fun facts like that. I forget what the name of the YouTuber is. Is it Hats Off Entertainment? One of those guys did like a full-on documentary about this. So I would highly recommend checking that out for those of you that have seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and love it as much as we do. All right, Matt, let's get it rolling. Number 2. Let's see if we match up here. I feel like we might have the same top 3. I'm kind of nervous. Number 2 for me is Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, okay.
Are we on the same page or no?
No, we're not. That's
okay,
all right.
Yeah. So yeah, Shawshank Redemption is number 2. I don't know, honestly, for stories, Matt. As far as stories go, I don't know if it really gets much better. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, this movie is just perfection. I really can't think of anything that is wrong with the movie. It's a little lengthy, but it doesn't feel lengthy because I'm just into it the entire time. Morgan Freeman, incredible job like he always does. Andy Dufresne, who's played by what's his name? Is it
Robbins?
Tim Robbins, I think. Tim Robbins, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great cast, incredible story. I'm sure everybody out there watching this has seen it, but if you have not seen Shawshank Redemption, like, just drop what you're doing. I would even say close out this video and go watch it because it is just a masterpiece. The soundtrack in that one is phenomenal. We see Andy Dufresne break out of prison, very similar to The Great Escape, I would say. And then, of course, Morgan Freeman's character, Red, gets let go after, 40 years of being in there, and he has to kind of figure things out, and those two end up meeting in Mexico at the end. I mean, it's just such a great movie, such a great movie. I would love to get into it more and just kind of describe what happens, but I would be failing at doing so. So just go and watch it if you haven't. But if you have watched it, I'm sure you agree with me. It's an all-time classic.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my honorable mentions. No word there, because that's definitely Morgan Freeman's best movie in my opinion. He's been in many good ones, but that's my
Hard to
personal
choose
favorite.
one, but yeah, I think that was probably his
Um,
finest work, at least from what I've seen.
but yeah, that's definitely a great movie, and it's kind of like a couple of these movies that we mentioned where when the ending comes, there might be a couple of tears going down my eyes. That's a movie I haven't watched in a while too. I think I need to take the time to watch it again at some point. It's been a couple of years, but
If you haven't
yeah,
watched it in a couple of days, it's been too long.
yeah, we got to pump this movie up for the viewers. But yeah.
All right, Matt, what's your number two?
My number two, I have a funny feeling it's probably going to be your number one, but
Probably will be.
But my number two, it had to be The Dark Knight, which came out in 2008, which again was filmed by Christopher Nolan. So that's two Nolan films on my list. So, like I said, favorite director. It has Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, and of course Heath Ledger. But yeah, that's for the longest time, this was my favorite movie of all time because it's just it's a superhero movie because it's Batman, but in so many ways, it's just again the human element in this movie is just it feels so realistic as if like shit, man, this really could happen. But yeah,
it only takes one psychopath.
Yeah,
but was he a psychopath?
Oh. But yeah, obviously most people know this movie because of Heath Ledger as his role as the Joker. Probably it's for sure true. I mean, that's one of the best performances ever, in cinema history. And unfortunately, he passed away like a year after, I think. But
he passed away I think before the movie even was officially released.
Oh, was it that recent? Okay.
Yeah, you never even got to see it as far as I know.
But yeah, but just overall though, just like the movie, just it's a very powerful movie, and also like at the end too, it's not really like your typical like happy ending per se, Right. So, but yeah, I had to include it in my top 5 for sure. I mean, because in my opinion, it's the best, superhero movie. Like I know Marvel, churns out like all these movies all the time, but I still think The Dark Knight stands alone at the top, and just for everything that movie, did really.
Well, Matt, as you did for our other top 5 list, you stole my thunder because, yes, The Dark Knight is my number 1 film of all time. As you know, I am just a huge Batman fan. I don't know if there's many people out there that are a bigger Batman fan than I am. I mean, I grew up, that was my guy. Like, that was my hero. I know he's not technically a superhero because he doesn't have any superpowers, but, out of all the superheroes, Batman's my favorite. I have Batman posters in my garage. I grew up with Batman, the animated series, which is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. But Batman Begins was a fantastic movie. And that was, of course, the first one of the trilogy with Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan and everybody else. But Batman Begins was the first legit, very good, great Batman movie that I saw as a kid. Well, I wasn't really, I was a teenager when that movie came out, but you know what I mean? The 90s was filled with just terrible Batman movies. You got George Nipple Clooney doing one of them. You had, what's his name? Val Kilmer. He was one of the Batman. So those were the Batman movies I essentially grew up with in the 90s, and they were awful, just super cheesy. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Dr. Freeze. You know what I mean? I mean, the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman is solid. I know a lot of people like that one more than any of them. But I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan. That movie's okay, but to me, Batman Begins is really what started the greatness. And then The Dark Knight came along, and I was like, my goodness, you don't make a better Batman movie than that. Like, seriously, because the thing I loved about it the most, man, other than, of course, the Joker, I mean, Heath Ledger was incredible, obviously, but just the fact that it actually shows Batman as a detective, because that's supposed to be his specialty. He's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. technically.
Yeah.
And we actually get that in The Dark Knight because he's just chasing after the Joker the entire time. So it's fantastic. Really, the only thing I guess I don't love about the movie is the fact they made Christian Bale's voice just so incredibly deep. Like they made that switch from for whatever reason. I thought his voice was perfect in Batman Begins. Why they decided he had to sound like this, like he's swallowing marbles, I don't understand. I mean, it didn't ruin it at all. I just thought it was kind of a weird approach. And there's actually some scenes where it kind of works well, and you're like, oh shit, that's badass. But that was a little weird. But other than that, there's really nothing wrong with that movie at all. There's no flaws. I love every bit of it. The ending, I'm not saying I'm disappointed with the ending. I guess it's just one of those movies where you just don't want it to end. And when it ends the way it does, where it's like, oh, Batman's going to take the blame for Harvey Dent's, death essentially, and for all the chaos that's happened, it's like, no, it's not supposed to end that way. There's got to be more to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love that movie, and I know they have a new Batman movie that they're turning out, I believe, next year, which I'm actually really looking forward to because the previews look amazing. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with that. The Twilight guy is going to be Batman. I keep forgetting his name.
Twilight does terrible movies.
Yeah, I know. But he looks like he's going to be a good Batman. It looks like it's going to be super dark, which is a reason why I really like these movies. Batman movies are supposed to be dark. They're not supposed to be comedy like the 90s were. So, yeah, that's mine. Dark Knight. What's yours, Matt? Number one.
My number one is a movie that you have watched before, but I don't think you really cared for it that much. So, I'm curious to see what you're going to think about this. But my number one movie is Heat.
Oh.
Yeah. So, not The Heat. Don't mistake me. It's just called Heat.
Yeah.
But anyway, it came out in 1995, directed by Michael Mann. And it stars Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and a younger Natalie Portman. Although she's kind of a side character, but I just threw that in there. but yeah, but yeah, I picked this movie as number one because I watched it like fairly recently for the first time, like maybe like 2 years ago. But my God, man, what a powerful movie! It's basically like it's a crime movie, It's kind of like The Fugitive, but you started the list with, but because you have like on one hand you got detective who's Al Pacino, and then you got the criminal. Although in The Fugitive, he's innocent, of course, but but in this movie, Robert De Niro is actually like a criminal or like a real life gangster, kind of thing.
Leader of mob.
But yeah. But yeah, I really love this movie because you have like two like alpha males, if you will, two very strong personalities. You got Al Pacino, who's like the detective, he was in the Marine Corps, and and you got this criminal, but yet somehow like they're so alike in so many different ways, and like they have like a fine level of respect, and it's like almost like they're playing chess this entire movie. Where you get to the end where it's just like, holy shit, like all these things that happen. It's a long movie, and I get why it might be something that you might not care about it, but it just really, like, it flows very nicely from scene to scene where it's just like, there's not a scene that's in the movie where it's like, oh, they didn't need to add that, it's just, there's no filler. It's just like, oh yeah, like it makes sense why they, they had that shot in it. But yeah, and also too, it has one of the, craziest shootout scenes in movie history. When they do a bank robbery in downtown Los Angeles, that's probably the most recognizable scene in the movie. But the rest of the movie as well, though, is gorgeous, man.
Matt, give me some credit. I love that movie.
Oh, you do?
I just saw it for the first time, like you did, probably around the same time a couple years ago. I loved it. It was a fantastic movie, and I honestly almost put it in my top 5. I think the reason why I didn't is because I've only watched it the one time, because I think our brother Clay has it on Blu-ray, and he let me borrow it. I never see this movie on TV. I don't. Maybe they do show it. I'm just looking on the wrong channels, but I never see it on TV. So I've only seen it the one time. I feel like if I saw it a couple more times, it probably would be in my top 5. But yeah, I love that movie. Made no mistake about it. I was very impressed. I think I did doubt it beforehand because our brother Clay, who's really the movie buff between us, let's be honest, he's seen far more movies than we have, Matt. He talked this movie up a lot, and I kept putting it off. Finally, like, okay, I'm gonna watch this damn movie because I'm getting tired of it bugging me to watch it. So I watched it, and I was blown away. I was like, damn, this is fantastic. I love Robert De Niro. I love Al Pacino. Even Val Kilmer, Mr. Batman from the 90s. He's in it.
He's mentioned it.
Yeah, he's in that movie too. Val Kilmer was great in a lot of movies. I don't want to make too much fun of him, even though he was in that Batman movie. But yeah, it's a great movie. I'm right there with you. Like at the end, I almost found myself rooting for Robert De Niro's character. Like even though he was technically the bad guy, I felt bad for him in a lot of ways. So that's a powerful thing when you can make the audience feel that way about the bad guy, which is kind of similar to The Dark Knight, honestly. A lot of people had sympathy and kind of understood the Joker in a lot of ways. So I love movies that are like that kind of put a twist on what you would normally think about or normally see.
Yeah. It's just like it's a movie that's like relatable in the sense too, where like both of these men, they're like chasing something, but it's honestly to the point of obsession, and I feel like a lot of us I feel like even I can relate to that sometimes. Where like I'm just so narrow-minded towards like, okay, I gotta do what I gotta do, but at the same time, like because they're really like they don't allow distractions or people to get in their way, and I don't know. I just find it really relatable in a lot of instances, and just it's a damn good movie. People gotta watch it,
Yeah, I feel like that's a very underrated movie and a movie that not a lot of people have seen. Where I feel like Shawshank is a movie that most people have seen. I feel like Heat is kind of the opposite for whatever reason. I don't know why. I think it's probably because was Heat and Shawshank? They may have came out the same year. I know it was early '90s, right?
I think Shawshank was 93, so I think Heat came out 2 years after.
But there were a lot of great movies in the early to mid '90s, so maybe that's why it kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But yeah, definitely recommend Heat, not the Heat like you mentioned. Heat, just standalone, Heat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
badass Robert De Niro, man.
That's right.
That's stoked, right. Man.
That's our top 5. What's yours? Leave a comment of your top 5 films of all time, and you may be randomly selected for that $25 Amazon gift card. Really looking forward to hearing or seeing what you folks have to say as far as your top 5 goes. Matt, for honorable mentions real quick, I mean, we could probably spend another couple hours. I mean, there's just so many other movies. Again, this was so hard. A movie that I almost forgot to mention was The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Yeah. That's another one that us 3 Willis brothers watched probably on repeat a million times. Also because they showed on TV so damn much.
Yeah.
But that movie is really kind of like Braveheart's little brother. It's maybe not quite as intense as Braveheart, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, there's that scene where he has the axe, the chopping up the British soldier. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of gory parts in The Patriot. I know it's not very historically accurate at all, but it's still damn entertaining. I love The Patriot. Jim Carrey movies, mostly from the 90s. I mean, there's so many. Actually, Bruce Almighty, I think, was early 2000s. But Bruce Almighty, The Mask, Pet Detective. I mean,
Liar,
Carrey, yeah, Liar, thank you. There's so many movies that he did in the night. Even Cable Guy is an underrated movie. So
even The Grinch.
Yeah, that was in my top 5 Christmas movies. So
yeah,
pretty much anything Jim Carrey did through the 90s, from the 90s to the early 2000s. Uncle Buck, I mentioned that earlier. One of my favorite John Candy movies. Tom Hanks has done quite a few that I love. Obviously, Castaway is up there. That's a classic. The National Lampoon Vacation movies with Chevy Chase, of course. Yeah. I had a bunch written down. Of course, I lost my list, so I'm kind of blanking on some others. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously a million others that I'm sure I'm forgetting that I either grew up with or have seen somewhat recently. And we haven't even mentioned sports movies, which are a huge part of my life. So we'll have to get into that in a future episode. Matt, you got any honorable mentions that I didn't mention?
Yeah, I agree with all the honorable mentions you mentioned as well. But I put down the Dark Knight trilogy because I did have the Dark Knight itself as my number 2, but I really love Batman Begins and the Dark Knight Rises, so I want to mention them. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Clint Eastwood. I almost I almost put that one on my list, but that's my favorite Clint Eastwood movie for sure.
I love Clint Eastwood. A lot of good Clint Eastwood movies.
I put I did put Indiana Jones Last Crusade forward as well, and that's one of my favorites. I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan per se, but that movie in particular, I really like it. And another one too, it has Mark Wahlberg in it. It's called Lone Survivor. It's a war movie. I really like that movie as well. It's a very motivational movie with Navy SEALs in it, and sometimes I watch clips of that movie just to make me stay hard, but especially before workouts and stuff like that. It's, I love that movie in particular, but yeah, there's many more I can mention, but those are definitely, they're all up there.
Yeah. And then, like I said, there's probably literally hundreds that I have not been able to recall or remember since we started thinking about this. So I apologize if I'm forgetting one that should be blatantly obvious, but it's hard, man, especially when I haven't really watched a lot of movies, honestly, in the last couple of years. So I think that makes it even more difficult for me to try to remember all these. But yeah, I literally had like 40 honorable mentions, and I'm drawing a blank on the other ones I had. So my apologies. But anyway, again, drop us a line, your top 5 movies of all time, and you may win a gift card. We will select one random winner. And Matt, what do you think? Should we give it till the end of the week? Sunday?
Yeah, we can do Sunday night.
Yeah, I think by Sunday night or maybe Monday morning, we will pick a winner. So I'll probably have this uploaded by, today's Thursday. So probably by tomorrow, Friday, this video will be uploaded. So I feel like that gives them a solid 2 or 3 days to get their comments out there. So again, top 5, we'll select one winner. Best of luck, Matt. I said I wanted to keep it under 40 minutes. We almost made it to an hour. So gonna go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you again so much, everybody, for tuning in. As always, we greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you next time. I'm Ryan Willis.
And I'm Matt Willis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.